Bushiroad just released the effects for the two new Crate Elemental Overtriggers. I will be reviewing their effects and discussing how they will affect the Overdress meta. These new Crate Elemental Overtriggers are going to be universally acceptable in every single Vanguard Overdress deck, and I think that because of that particular reason, we're going to see a variety of new strategies happening for Standard. Making their debut into Overdress, we have Spiritual King of Ignition, Valknot with the following effect. Additional effect, choose one of your stand rear guards and it gets auto rear guard circle once per turn. At the end of that battle that this unit attacked, stand this unit until the end of turn. If you did not choose a card, draw a card and choose up to one unit card from your hand and call its rear guard circle. Spiritual King of Ignition Valknot is the first Crate Elemental Overtrigger revealed. Within this week, we just got the second one, which we'll be introducing now. So making his debut in Overdress, we have Spiritual King of Water, Pharaoh, with the following effect. Additional effect, choose a card from your drop and add it to your hand. Choose one of your units and it gets critical +1 until end of turn. Okay, so now that we've seen the effect with both of these Overtriggers, let's go ahead and talk about it. So I'm going to talk about Pharaoh first because it's one that I'm currently on. And I think that Pharaoh is a very resourceful Overtrigger. The card essentially is a critical trigger that lets you return a card back to your hand. And I think that decks that have trouble finding the Persona Rider or very reliant on it, that see it, are really going to like this card. It's also good at any point in the game because when you're attacking or you're going through your ride chain, you're going to have to take the card back that you discard and put it back into your hand. So realistically speaking, at any point in the game, this card is extremely valuable. It's definitely not the strongest Overtrigger. I don't think, in my opinion. I actually want to say that this one is the weakest one out of all the Overtriggers currently existing, because while it is resourceful, besides the +1 critical, offensively speaking, this card does not do much. I think that Pharaoh, yes, you get an additional card back to your hand, which can be whatever you might need. It's probably the Persona Ride 9 times out of 10. You'll get the additional critical benefit, which is cool, but I think that they missed the mark on this one. It's okay, again, if you want the resource management effect, but I don't know. Pharaoh for an introduction. For me, if I had to rate it out of 5, I'm gonna give this card a 2 out of 5. It's resourceful, it gives additional critical, but it doesn't do anything else. Moving on to Spiritual King of Ignition Valknot. Now, Valknot has been out for a week prior to Pharaoh, and people have been calling it exactly what it is. It's just an overpowered stand trigger because it gets the 1 million power. You apply the standing effect to one of your rear guard units, and then if you don't have a rear guard, you get to call a card from your hand to rear guard circle. This one is probably the most aggressive one, speaking obviously it being a super strong stand trigger. For my standard players only, if you guys don't know what a stand trigger is, basically back in the day we used to have cards that when you drove check it, you got to choose one of your units, give 5,000 power, and you get to stand one of your rear guards and get another attack with that. It gave every single deck in Vanguard a generic multi-attack strategy in case your deck wasn't capable of doing multi-attack. So this card does the exact same thing for other decks. But with where we're at in Overdress now, every deck at this point is doing at least 4 attacks minimum, 6 max from what I've seen so far. I think that Valknot is pretty cool. The card gives you essentially an extra attack, and it's universally going to be good in every single deck. It's just a really big stand trigger, and offensively speaking, it's going to be really powerful in 2 decks specifically that I see it. The first one that I see this card being extremely strong in, because I've already seen videos for it, is Stoicheia, specifically Magnolia, because you can make your Geonosla extremely big and then you can restand it with the back row for Magnolia's effect, and then you get to give 100 million power to 2 units twice that have not attacked yet. And then keep in mind that that card's gonna have 100 million power on it and restand. So for a counterblast of 2, you get 3 100 million attacks. That's pretty powerful. Any deck that has guard restrict in it is going to really like this card because they'll just give the guard restrict to the unit that has it, and then they'll have to use multiple cards from their hand to block that. So any deck that has guard restrict, I can automatically see this card being really good for if guard restrict is your win condition. My final thoughts on the 2 new Overtriggers is the fact that both of these cards are really strong, but I think that they are extremely balanced. And with all the complaints that people have made to Overtriggers in the years, and I'm not even going to get into that debate, I've learned my lesson. With all the complaints that people have talked about with Overtriggers and with cards like Griffogelia, if we are going to be introducing new Overtriggers into the game, I think that we need to be very careful on how we do so because there's already so much disdain for them in standard and in premium. So therefore, while these cards aren't super powerful, they're both extremely resourceful, and I think that that is something that I as a player can appreciate despite all the hate that Overtriggers currently do have. They're strong, balanced cards that are going to be really good in different decks. You're obviously going to play whichever one you need if you don't like the Overtrigger you have now in the deck you want it for, and you're going to make it work. Again, you're only allowed to play one copy of the Overtrigger in the deck, and you're going to pick the one that's best for you. I personally still think that all of the Overtriggers that were given to the nations already were a lot better than these two. I think that Valnout might take the slot over the Keter Sanctuary one, just because a lot of people do not like that card, especially with how consistent Keter Sanctuary is becoming with these new strategies. So I definitely see a lot of Keter decks going to this. And Magnolia, no, I'm a liar. I play Magnolia. I'm not getting rid of Blessed Paper for this. However, I am very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on these new Overtriggers. Tell me what you guys are thinking about them in the comment section below, and let's get a discussion going on how do you feel about them. Do you feel like these new Overtriggers are extremely powerful and just going to become the standard for a lot of decks? Do you feel like these Overtriggers missed the mark and they could have done a lot better? Or do you feel like Bushiroad taking this approach to Overtriggers and new ones are being created are more balanced and are a welcomed upgrade? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this. Let's get a discussion going, and I'll see you later, card fighters. Peace.